I'm Rob Licuria, senior editor at Gold Derby, here with Bookie, co-creator and showrunner Chuck Lorre. Chuck, after 10 Emmy nominations over the years and being a TV Academy Hall of Fame inductee, I really want to know from what we all regard as the king of sitcoms, these days when you're writing a single camera comedy show, how do you really know the jokes are going to land and make the audience laugh?
You don't. You don't know. A great deal of humility has to be practiced when you're doing a comedy. I, I mean, the audience, when there's no audience, you're going entirely on your judgment, and you don't have any feedback. Um, but I suppose I could say that after 30 some odd years of working in front of an audience, the audience is kind of in my head. And I can kind of have a sense that something's going to not work. I was going to say die a horrible death, but that seemed a little dramatic. But you do get a sense of it. But again, um, it's it's such a fragile thing, comedy. It's surprising. Something you think is just a guaranteed wonderful, wonderful comic moment can fail. And if you get too full of yourself, you're in for a shocking surprise that the audience doesn't care what you think.
No. And the beauty of this show is honestly, genuinely, it's so laugh out loud funny. When I asked a similar question with Sebastian, he said his best gauge was when he could hear you on set a little further away at laughing out loud. He'd be like, okay, great, I got it. So you were the gauge for the lead star of the show.
And he has his career is working to a live audience, and you know when you succeed and fail immediately. And at a certain point, when you're doing a film style show, you kind of just have to go on trust, on faith. I believe in this, and don't melt into a puddle of tears when you're wrong. Just fix it. And that's one of the things I talked about. I think in the panel was I I really feel it's critical to be on the set or on location every minute that we're shooting, because that's my one chance to make adjustments or cuts or punch it up. Um, I don't want to find out in an editing bay that I'm wrong. I'd rather
Yeah.
know as soon as possible that I'm wrong.
It must be horrifying if it ever happens when you're in the editing bay. Like, it's a little late by then, and you're like,
A
"Oh,
bit late. Yeah.
it's a little late. This is not
Yeah.
working." That would be terrifying. Um, so Sebastian Maniscalco, who I've been a fan of his for years, as an Italian myself, well, Italian Australian, Omar Dorsey, who I had not seen before. Those two, when they're firing on all cylinders, the show just sings. It's beautiful. So, what is it about buddy comedies, essentially, that makes them so uniquely evergreen? Because they will never really go out of fashion, will they?
I would hope not. I think you know uh, for Omar and Sebastian, the chemistry was immediate. I mean, we knew we were building a show around Sebastian, and Omar came in and auditioned for the part of his partner. And the minute they sat down and read some scenes together, it was really clear that there was chemistry. That something was happening that wasn't on the page, and some wonderful actors came in and read for that part. But this was, that ineffable, wonderful thing that happens when two actors just connect.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to watch because there are plenty of shows where perhaps maybe that doesn't happen, and so you're lucky, I guess, that you're able to
Yes,
make
if,
that
if
work.
if you go forward with two people who have no chemistry with one another, the mistake is yours. Why did you go
Yeah,
forward? Right?
yeah,
I mean, just you got to slam the brakes on if you don't have that that kind of that magical, mystical kind of element where two people connect and they finish each other's sentences, and they felt like an old married couple almost immediately.
yeah. I love that. Yeah, I totally agree. There's a moment, I can't remember the episode exactly, where they're in the bank and they're talking about that weird guy, and they come up with this whole scenario, and then Sebastian, as Danny, ends it with, maybe the puppet has an evil spirit or something like that. And I mean, I'm laughing out loud, and I'm just looking at this thinking, this is how I talk to my buddies. Sometimes this is how I talk to my wife. Like, we just talk nonsense. The banter is real. It feels authentic, and how important is that in the writing to not only be funny, but to make it feel something relatable and real and authentic?
Well, that's all performance. That's the thing that happens, that has, you hope and pray for that, but you can't force it. Two actors either have that kind of chemistry or they don't. And these two gentlemen had it right out of the gate. And if I can take a bow for anything, is I recognized that they were fantastic together, and we went forward with confidence that at its heart, Bookie's a buddy show. It's a buddy comedy. These two men in a dying profession, uh, with strange clientele, difficult home lives, kind of hang on to one another and help. There's a love affair at the middle of this thing between these two men, um, and um, I think that's what holds the show up, is that
Yeah.
they will, shit hits the fan, they will show up for one another, and that's I think everybody wants that, so it's aspirational.
It's aspirational. I find it really oddly quite comforting. And so that mix, and when you're making me laugh and making me feel kind of at ease and comfortable with this dynamic, that to me is TV gold. Speaking of, yeah, I mean, you're responsible for one of the greatest collaborations in comedy, you and Charlie Sheen, right? And he's such a good sport for guest starring on the show as himself. Did it take a lot of convincing to get him on the show?
No, not really. When I reached out to him, I was in a good place. This was the nightmare that we went through was way in the rearview mirror. I wasn't part of my. I was able. I went through many years where I couldn't watch the show in reruns. It was too hurtful, and that passed. And I recognized that. I occasionally watch a show, a rerun, and laugh and enjoy it, and really admire the work. His work was impeccable, and his work opposite John Cryer, it was a buddy comedy from heaven. So the only thing to do was, when Nick and I wrote that first episode, we knew that we wanted to have a celebrity play themselves who was a degenerate gambler, and so we had some ideas, but we didn't really lock it down. And one night I just went, oh, I know who'd kill this. And I called Nick and I said, I think this is Charlie, and he said, well, how are you with that? And I went, I'm good. I think, if he's in a good place, it'd be great. So I called him, and he was in a terrific place in his life, raising a couple of kids, and doing really well, and he was gracious and kind, and collaborative, and we had a blast. It was more than just the show. It was, I think, very meaningful to both of us. I don't want to speak for Charlie, but it was certainly very meaningful to me to put that all behind us, and to go have some fun, and try and make people laugh.
That's amazing. Quick final question before I let you go. Do you have a favorite line? The one-liners, the snappy banter and dialogue is so brilliant. Do you have a favorite line that you can recall from season one? I have plenty, but I'm wondering if you had one.
Nothing
You may
pisses
not.
me off more than people.
It's so true.
It's the
It's
end of
so
the
true.
first scene. Yeah, nothing
Yep.
pisses me off more than people. Is every once in a while, you land on some words that absolutely capture a character. And that one, that's the one for me.
Well, mine is he's hoping from the funeral director. He's hoping that China has something cooking because his business is going to.
Oh,
So
oh my goodness, I forgot about that one. Sure, that
that's a
was,
good
yeah,
one.
yep.
That's a damn good one. Chuck, thank you so much for your time today. Congratulations on Bookie and yeah, good luck for season 2.
Thanks, Bill.